All right, let's talk about something exciting. Let's dive into the world of tax-free investing for retirement. We're cracking open a personal finance book. It's all about making those golden years, well, truly golden.
Yeah.
How? By keeping more of your hard-earned money safe from the tax man. Think about it. You work hard, you pay your dues. But retirement, that's your time. Time to enjoy everything you've worked for. Tax-free if you know the right moves.
That's right. You've earned it.
And that's where Roth IRAs and Roth conversions come into play. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Roth what? But trust me, stick with us. You'll be amazed at how powerful these tools can be and how they can make a huge difference in your retirement.
It's true. And, it's surprising how many people think they're investing tax-free, only to get slammed with a big tax bill down the road.
Ouch.
Yeah, it happens more than you think. A lot of those so-called tax-free investments out there, they don't actually meet the criteria to be truly tax-free.
Oh, interesting. So are you talking about things like municipal bonds? Everyone always talks about those being tax-free.
Exactly. Municipal bonds, they're often presented as the holy grail of tax-free investing, but the reality, it's a bit more nuanced.
Oh, I see. So there are some catches.
There are. A truly tax-free investment, it has to be completely free from all taxes, federal, state, even capital gains. And here's another thing. The distributions, the money you take out in retirement, they shouldn't increase the amount of your Social Security benefits that gets taxed.
Oh, wow. So there's a connection there, too.
There is. It's all connected. And municipal bonds, they can sometimes trip up on both of those points.
So it's not as straightforward as it seems. If you're considering municipal bonds, you really need to dig into the details. Don't just take the marketing hype at face value.
Definitely do your research.
Okay, got it. So enough about the imposters. Let's talk about the real deal, the investments that actually deliver on that tax-free promise. Our source says the Roth IRA checks all the boxes.
Absolutely. It's the gold standard. With a Roth IRA, you're essentially making a deal with the IRS. It's like a win-win.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
You pay taxes on the money you contribute now, up front. But here's the trade-off. In exchange, you get to enjoy tax-free growth on those contributions. And when you retire, you withdraw that money completely tax-free.
Wow, so all those years of growth completely tax-free.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed that grows into a beautiful, massive tree.
I like that analogy.
And the best part, you get to enjoy all the fruit from that tree.
So you get to keep all the rewards.
Without having to share any of it with Uncle Sam.
That sounds pretty amazing, especially when you think about how much your money could potentially grow over decades with the magic of tax-free compounding.
Compounding is key.
But the book also mentions that Roth IRAs come with a few limitations.
True, there are some rules and restrictions, but,
Yeah.
those limitations, they actually add to the appeal of a Roth IRA.
Wait a minute, you're saying limitations make something more appealing. How does that work?
Think of it like this. The IRS, they're kind of creating an exclusive club with these Roth IRAs.
Oh, an exclusive club?
They're saying, look, we'll give you this amazing tax benefit, but only if you meet certain criteria.
Like a VIP section.
Exactly. And that exclusivity, it makes it even more desirable.
So it's like getting into that super trendy speakeasy everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
The harder it is to get in, the more you want to be there.
It's human nature.
All right, I get the exclusivity factor.
Yeah.
But let's break down these limitations. What exactly are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, there are contribution limits. In 2018, you can only contribute $5,500 per year if you're under 50, or $6,500 if you're over 50.
Okay, so there's a cap.
There is, and it might not seem like a lot, especially compared to traditional 401ks, where you can contribute much more.
Right, 401ks have much higher limits.
They do, but here's the thing to remember. With a Roth IRA, this money has the potential to grow tax-free for decades.
Oh, that's a game changer.
It is. Even small contributions can make a huge difference over time, especially with that tax-free compounding working its magic.
Right, it's all about the long game.
Exactly. Now, on top of the contribution limits, there are also income limits for Roth IRAs. If you earn too much, you're not eligible to contribute directly.
Oh, there's an income ceiling.
There is. It's like the IRS is saying, hey, if you're already doing well financially, you don't need this extra tax break.
So it's really targeted at middle-income earners who are diligently saving for retirement. It's like a reward for being responsible with your money.
Absolutely. It's designed to help people build a secure and comfortable retirement. Now, the last limitation to be aware of, there are some rules about when you can access the money in your Roth IRA.
Okay, so it's not a free-for-all.
No, you can always withdraw your contributions at any time without penalty. That's the money you put in. But if you want to access the earnings, the growth, before age 59 and a half, and your account hasn't been open for at least 5 years, you'll face taxes and penalties.
Got it. So you really need to treat this as a long-term investment, not a quick fix for immediate financial needs.
That's right. Roth IRAs are designed for the long haul to help you build a solid, tax-free retirement.
All right, so we've talked about the benefits of Roth IRAs, and we've covered the limitations. But now the big question, when does it actually make sense to choose a Roth IRA over a traditional IRA? Because with a traditional IRA, you get a tax deduction up front, right?
That's the question everyone wants to know. And to be honest, there's no easy answer. It really depends on your individual situation and, more importantly, your predictions about future tax rates.
Oh, the dreaded crystal ball dilemma.
Exactly. No one can predict the future with 100% certainty.
If only we had a time machine.
Right. But you know what? Our source uses a great story about twin brothers, Gary and Doug, to illustrate this point.
Twin brothers. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It really highlights why understanding potential tax rate differences is so important.
Interesting. So tell me about Gary and Doug.
All right, so we have Gary. Gary loves those upfront tax deductions. He's all about saving money now, so he chooses the traditional tax-deferred route. He contributes $5,000 pre-tax dollars to his 401k every year, like clockwork.
That's a good amount.
It is, and over 30 years, that grows to a pretty impressive sum, over $600,000.
Wow, that's a serious nest egg.
It is, but here's the catch. That $600,000 figure, it doesn't account for taxes.
Uh-oh, so there's more to the story.
There is. When Gary starts taking money out in retirement, he's going to have to pay taxes on every dollar he withdraws.
So it's like a ticking time bomb?
You could say that. Let's say Gary's tax rate in retirement is the same as when he was working, 30%.
Okay, let's assume that.
He'll end up paying $180,000 in taxes.
That's a huge chunk of his savings.
It is, leaving him with only $420,000 to actually spend.
Ouch, that's a big difference.
Now let's compare that to his twin brother, Doug. Doug decides to forego those upfront tax deductions. He goes the tax-free route with a Roth IRA.
So he's playing the long game.
He is, and because he's contributing after-tax dollars, he can only afford to put in $3,500 per year.
So it seems like he's saving less than Gary.
On the surface, yes. But remember, Doug's money is growing tax-free year after year.
There's the magic.
It is. After 30 years, when Doug retires, guess how much he has?
I'm on the edge of my seat, tell me.
He has the same $420,000 as Gary.
Really?
Even though he contributed less, it might seem counterintuitive, but because Doug paid his taxes up front, he gets to keep every dollar of his earnings in retirement.
That's incredible. So they end up with the same amount, even though they took different paths.
Exactly. Now, here's where things get really interesting. What if your tax rate in retirement ends up being higher than it is now?
Oh, that's a good point. What happens then?
That's where the Roth IRA really shines. Even if your tax rate in retirement is just slightly higher, even 1%, Doug, the Roth IRA guy, comes out ahead.
He wins the long game.
He does. He's already paid his dues, so he gets to enjoy all of that hard-earned money in retirement, completely tax-free.
So if you even suspect that your tax rate might be higher in retirement, a Roth IRA starts to look like a really smart choice.
It's a good bet.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of factors that could push tax rates higher in the future. Changes in government policy, your personal financial situation.
It's hard to predict.
It is, for instance. You might find yourself in a higher income bracket in retirement if you have significant investment income, or a large pension.
Or maybe you have fewer deductions to offset your income, like mortgage interest if you've paid off your house.
Right. Those are all things to consider.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, and that's why it's so important to take a long-term perspective when you're making decisions about your retirement savings.
I agree. This has been incredibly insightful. But what about people who are earning a good income now, but make too much to contribute directly to a Roth IRA? Is there a way for them to get in on this tax-free action?
You know, this whole tax-free investing thing, it's almost like a mental time machine. You're trying to picture your financial life decades from now.
Yeah.
What the tax landscape will look like.
Yeah, it's like peeking into an alternate reality where you're retired, relaxed, and hopefully not worrying about taxes.
Exactly. But, it's hard for a lot of people to think that far ahead. It's easy to get caught up in today's expenses and immediate financial needs and forget about our future selves.
Oh, I know. I'm guilty of that. It's easy to get tunnel vision.
It is.
But like we've seen with these Roth IRA strategies, the decisions we make today, they can have a huge impact on our financial freedom later on.
It's like planting a tree.
Oh, I like that.
You nurture it, you give it time to grow, and eventually you get to enjoy the shade. And the fruit of that tree...
But if you try to harvest the fruit too early, you might not get what you were hoping for.
Exactly. Patience is key.
So we've been focusing a lot on Roth IRAs, but the book also talks about diversification, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
It's important. It's not always about going all in on one strategy.
Right.
Sometimes it makes sense to spread your retirement savings across different types of accounts, tax-free and tax-deferred.
So you're saying it's not always about maximizing your Roth contributions.
Exactly. It comes back to that standard deduction we mentioned earlier. Remember, even in retirement, you still get that standard deduction to offset some of your income.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
But if all your retirement savings are in Roth accounts, you might not be able to use that deduction fully.
Because all your Roth distributions are already tax-free. So there's nothing for the standard deduction to offset.
Right. It's like having a free pass to a concert, but realizing you already bought tickets.
I get it.
So the book recommends aiming for an IRA balance that's big enough to generate those required minimum distributions, the RMDs. At age 70 and a half, that roughly equal your standard deduction.
Okay, so you're strategically using those RMDs.
Exactly. You can use that standard deduction
Yeah.
to offset the taxes you'd owe on the RMDs from your traditional IRA, essentially creating tax-free income.
It's like a puzzle.
It is, finding the right balance.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot between tax-free and tax-deferred accounts.
Yeah.
Now, let's say someone's done their research, crunched the numbers with a financial advisor, and decided that Roth conversions are a good fit for them. How do they actually make that happen? Is it complicated?
You'd be surprised how easy it is. You just contact your IRA custodian, the company that holds your IRA, and tell them you want to convert a portion or all of your traditional IRA to a Roth.
That's it. No mountains of paperwork.
Well, there may be a little paperwork, but your custodian handles all the details, the transfers, the reporting to the IRS. It's pretty seamless.
That's good to know. But even though the process is simple, you still have to pay taxes on the amount you convert, right?
That's right. You're prepaying those taxes now at today's rates in exchange for tax-free growth and withdrawals later on.
So timing is everything.
It is. You want to choose a year when your income is relatively low and you have enough cash on hand to cover the taxes.
Without raiding your emergency fund.
Exactly.
Oh, do that.
And it's also a good idea to spread out your conversions over several years, especially if you have a large IRA balance.
So break it up into smaller chunks.
Right. That way you can avoid jumping into a higher tax bracket.
It's like easing into a hot tub instead of just jumping in all at once.
Haha, I like that. Slow and steady wins the tax-free race.
This is making me realize how important it is to have a plan for managing your income and taxes in retirement.
It's crucial. It's not just about saving enough money. It's also about knowing how to access that money in the most tax-efficient way.
And that's where a good financial advisor can be so helpful.
Absolutely. They can help you create a customized strategy.
It's like having a financial GPS.
Exactly. To guide you through all the twists and turns.
Speaking of twists and turns, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in retirement planning. Social Security.
Oh, yes. Social Security. A lot of people assume those benefits are always tax-free.
I think that's a common misconception.
It is, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. A portion of your Social Security benefits could be taxed, depending on your overall income level in retirement.
Wait, so even though I've been paying into Social Security my whole working life, I might still have to pay taxes on those benefits?
It might seem unfair, but yes, that's how the system works. It all goes back to that provisional income concept.
Provisional income.
It's a formula the IRS uses to determine how much of your Social Security is taxable. They look at your adjusted gross income, any non-taxable interest you're earning, and half of your Social Security benefits.
So the more I earn from other sources in retirement, like pensions, investments, or even part-time work, the more likely I am to owe taxes on my Social Security benefits.
Exactly. If your combined income exceeds a certain threshold, you'll have to pay taxes on a portion of your benefits.
And the exact percentage depends on how much you're over that threshold.
That's right.
Okay, that makes sense. It's definitely something to keep in mind when planning for retirement. I wouldn't want any surprise tax bills in my golden years.
No one wants that. But the good news is there are things you can do to potentially minimize or even avoid those taxes on your Social Security benefits.
Oh, it's good to hear.
For example, withdrawing money from a Roth IRA instead of a traditional IRA can help keep your provisional income lower because those Roth distributions are tax-free.
So another benefit of having a Roth.
Exactly. It's like a secret weapon in your tax planning arsenal.
Well, I like it.
Another strategy is to delay taking Social Security benefits for as long as you can. The longer you wait, the larger your monthly benefits will be.
But isn't there a risk that waiting too long could push me into a higher tax bracket later on.
That's a valid concern. It's a balancing act. That's why it's so important to talk to a financial advisor, someone who specializes in retirement planning and Social Security strategies.
They can help you weigh the pros and cons.
Exactly. And create a plan that maximizes your benefits while minimizing your tax liability.
It's like having a personal Social Security coach in your corner.
Exactly.
This is a lot of information to digest, but it's so important to understand all these nuances.
I agree. It's not enough to just save for retirement. You need a plan for managing your income and taxes once you're no longer working.
It's like building a house. You wouldn't just start hammering nails without a blueprint.
Right. You need a solid foundation.
And a roadmap to guide you.
And that's what we're trying to do in this deep dive. Give you the tools and knowledge to build your own tax-efficient retirement plan.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
From Roth IRAs to HSAs and 529 plans, even touched on self-directed investing.
And yet, I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
There's always more to learn.
You know, it's really interesting. As we dig into this book, it's clear that there's a whole world of tax-advantaged opportunities.
Yeah.
Beyond the usual suspects, like 401ks and IRAs.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot out there. It's like a hidden treasure map. And some of these less conventional options, they can be incredibly powerful.
So what are we missing?
Well, one that often flies under the radar is the health savings account, the HSA.
Oh, yeah, HSAs. I've always thought of those as just for medical expenses.
That's what most people think. But HSAs can actually be very versatile.
Really?
Especially if you qualify. They can play a key role in your long-term financial plan.
Okay, so it's more than just healthcare.
It is.
Who can actually use these HSAs?
You have to be enrolled in a high-deductible health plan, an HDHP.
Right, those plans with the lower monthly premiums, but the higher out-of-pocket costs if you actually need medical care.
Exactly. And that might seem like a tough trade-off for some, but the tax advantages of an HSA, they can be really appealing.
So what makes HSAs so special?
For starters, your contributions are tax-deductible, just like contributions to a traditional IRA or 401k.
Okay, so you're reducing your taxable income right away.
Right off the bat.
But you still have to pay taxes when you take the money out.
Right. Not if you use it for qualified medical expenses. Those withdrawals are completely tax-free.
Oh, wow, so it's a double tax benefit.
It is. Tax-deductible contributions and tax-free withdrawals for medical expenses.
And healthcare costs can be a huge expense in retirement.
Especially as you get older.
So that's a big deal.
It is.
What if you don't need the money for medical expenses right away?
Then you can let it grow tax-free within the HSA.
Hold on. So it's like a Roth IRA, but for healthcare expenses?
You could say that. It's a great way to build a nest egg specifically for future medical costs.
I like it.
And once you turn 65, you can withdraw money from your HSA for any reason without penalty.
Oh, any reason?
You'll have to pay taxes on those non-medical withdrawals, but it'll be at your ordinary income tax rate, just like a traditional IRA.
So it's like a hybrid account.
It is.
Tax-free for healthcare, tax-deferred for everything else.
That's a good way to put it.
I'm starting to see why you called it a hidden gem.
HSAs offer a lot of flexibility,
They really do.
especially if you anticipate significant healthcare expenses down the road.
Okay, so we found one hidden gem. What other tax-smart options are we overlooking?
Well, if you're saving for college for your kids or grandkids, then you need to know about 529 plans.
529 plans. I've heard of those. But honestly, college seems so far off.
It might, but time is your biggest asset when it comes to investing.
That's true.
The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow. And with the rising cost of education, every little bit helps.
Okay, fair enough. Remind me what's so special about 529 plans.
The biggest benefit, your contributions grow tax-deferred, and withdrawals are tax-free as long as you use the money for qualified educational expenses.
So things like tuition, room and board, textbooks.
All of that. And here's another bonus. A lot of states offer a state income tax deduction or credit for 529 contributions.
So you could save on both federal and state taxes.
That's right.
What if my kids don't end up going to college?
Well, there's been some recent legislation. It's broadened the definition of qualified expenses.
Oh, interesting.
Now you can use 529 funds for K-12 tuition, apprenticeship programs, even student loan repayments.
Wow, that's a lot more flexible than I thought.
They've made them much more versatile.
So they can really adapt to your family's needs.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sold on 529 plans. HSAs for healthcare, 529s for education. What other tax-smart treasures are we missing out on?
Well, for the more adventurous investor, who wants more control over their retirement savings? There's the world of self-directed retirement accounts.
Self-directed.
It means you have more flexibility in choosing your investments.
Okay, so it's more hands-on.
It is. Instead of being limited to the usual mutual funds and stocks, you can invest in a wider range of assets.
Like what kind of assets?
Real estate, precious metals, private businesses, even cryptocurrency if you're feeling bold.
Wow, that's a whole different ballgame.
It is. But it's not for the faint of heart. Self-directed accounts require more financial knowledge and a higher risk tolerance.
So more potential reward, but also more potential risk.
Exactly. But for those who are comfortable with that and have a long-term outlook, self-directed accounts can be a great way to diversify and potentially boost your returns.
Definitely something to research further. I'm starting to see that there are so many possibilities when it comes to tax-advantaged investing.
There really are. It's like we've been given this key to unlock a door we didn't even know existed.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive, one thing that really stands out to me is that building a tax-efficient retirement plan, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Definitely not. It's not just about picking investments or maxing out your 401k. It's about being proactive.
And thinking long-term.
Exactly. Understanding how all the pieces fit together.
It's about understanding your own personal situation, your goals, your risk tolerance.
And finding the strategies that align with those factors.
Because what works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. And remember, the world of retirement planning is always changing.
It's true. Things are always evolving.
New laws, new tax rates, new financial products. It's an ongoing journey of learning and adapting.
This deep dive has given us a great foundation.
A good starting point.
But the most important takeaway is that this is just the beginning.
Now it's up to you to take what you've learned and run with it.
Do your research, talk to a financial advisor.
Get the guidance you need.
This has been an incredible journey. We've explored so much.
From the basics of Roth IRAs to the complexities of Social Security.
We've even uncovered some hidden gems, like HSAs and 529 plans, and dipped our toes into the world of self-directed investing.
It's been quite the adventure.
It has. And I hope we've inspired you to take control of your financial future.
And build that tax-free retirement of your dreams.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep striving for that brighter, more financially secure future.